So Arc Raiders is finally here. I've been waiting years for this game at this point and I've been having an absolute blast with it already, but it's fair to say, as you'd expect with any extraction shooter, it can be pretty damn tough and there are plenty of new things you'll need to learn if you are completely new to not only this game, but also this genre as well. And so today I wanted to give you guys a very basic beginner's guide to the game, useful info to know about the general flow of a game, and some tips that will help you in your first few days of playing Arc Raiders. Now we're going to start off in Speranza, which is essentially just the menus of this game. It is realistically our home base, and there are definitely some things of note in here that you don't want to be neglecting before I get into the actual sort of gameplay related tips. Now, the first thing that is worth noting, which I'm sure you will pick this up pretty quickly anyway, but something you want to be doing after every single raid is going to Scrappy the Rooster, who you can find here, because Scrappy the Rooster is going to bring you a lot of free loot after every single raid that you do, and you do not want to be neglecting all of this free stuff that you can be collecting now. You don't have to check it after every single raid, but there is a limit there as well, so you don't want to just let this stockpile up, because eventually you're going to get to that limit and then you're actually not earning this stuff every time you do a raid. So you probably want to check in every 3 to 4 times at minimum and just collect all of this stuff. There's no real inventory space when it comes to storing your own stuff in Speranza, so be sure not to neglect Scrappy the Rooster. He's going to help you, especially early on when it comes to getting some very useful items that can help with crafting and all of those sorts of things. Now, speaking of crafting, something that I would recommend doing as early as you can in this game is to try and actually craft a medical lab, and this is pretty easy to do. All you need in order to make a medical lab is 6 arc alloy, which can be found by killing the arc units around the map. This can even be collected from the easier arc units that are really easy to kill. So I'd recommend just focusing on those. Some of the more powerful ones are honestly borderline impossible if you're playing solo, but even those easy ones can give you some arc alloy. Now, you'll also need 50 fabric, which is quite a lot, but it is also fairly easy to get. This can be found out in the world in the commercial, medical, and residential areas on the map, but you can also buy this from Celeste in the traders tab. And when it comes to Celeste, instead of actually paying money for the stuff that she gives you, you pay with seeds, which you'll actually find in your playtime. So in that sense, it is essentially free because you're not wasting your actual in-game currency. It just takes a bit of time to actually get those seeds, but it is pretty easy to do at the end of the day. And once you get 50 fabric and 6 arc alloy, you can then build a medical lab, which allows you to essentially just craft your own medical stuff. So things that will help with survival in the world, which is very important, because if you're running out of those and you don't have any to take into a raid with you, well, you are most certainly going to struggle, and this makes that a whole lot easier. Now that takes me to the free loadout as well in this game, because obviously a big part of an extraction shooter is bringing in your own loadout into the world, but you're kind of risking that every time you do a raid. If you bring some really good weapons with you, it's obviously going to make your time a bit easier in that you're more powerful in that exact raid, but obviously if you die, well, you're leaving all of that stuff behind. And so if, for example, you want to go in on a raid, but you're just going in for something specific and you don't really want to risk your good items, you're going in for a really quick raid and it's just not worth the risk in your eyes, then there is the free loadout that you can use, and that is just going to give you a very basic loadout. It'll give you like a weapon, a shield, and that's pretty much it. You unfortunately don't have the safe pocket, which I'll get to in a second, but like I said, if you're just going in to maybe get some challenges done for the quests, or you just want to go in and like get some gameplay, you just want to go and get some kills and you don't really want to risk your stuff, well, make the most of that free loadout, because that is essentially a risk-free way of playing Arc Raiders. Now, I just mentioned the safe pocket as well, and for those who don't know how this works, this just means that anything in your safe pocket, even if you die, you will bring that back to Speranza and you will not lose that when you die. So if you're out in the world and you find a really good piece of loot, or if there's just something that you definitely don't want to lose, be sure to put it into your safe pocket immediately. If you've played this game, you'll know that anything can change in a matter of seconds. You can be completely safe and then within 10 seconds you can be in absolute life-threatening danger. So if you pick up something good, put it in the safe pocket immediately. You do not want to risk that stuff, and like I said, that will guarantee that even if you die, you will bring that item back to Speranza. Now, before we get into some of the more gameplay related tips, if you guys are new to the channel and you are interested in more Arc Raiders content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There is plenty more stuff on the way. Obviously today's video is a very basic beginner's guide, but there's going to be a lot more advanced stuff, so be sure to keep your eyes Buzzpilled for all of that upcoming content. Now, when it comes to the actual gameplay and the gameplay loop of Arc Raiders, for those who haven't played at all and you just want to know how the game actually works, realistically, the goal of this game is to get into a raid, go out and loot and find some good items and potentially finish some quests, which will also reward you with even more items. And from there, you essentially want to get out. You need to extract in order to actually get the stuff that you've looted. If you die, all of that stuff will be gone for good, even the stuff you brought with you, and that is obviously not what you want. Now, something that's worth noting is you don't always need to stay to the end. If you jump into a raid and you get a few kills early on, you get some good loot, and even if it's only been like 5 minutes, don't feel like you have to stay to the end. I was falling for that a little bit early on because I'm not too much of an extraction guy, and to me, being more of a battle royale guy, I'm used to just extracting at the end of a game, but that is not an absolute requirement. If you get what you need, get out early, because realistically, the earlier you get out, the safer it's going to be, the less of a contest there's going to be for the elevators. For example, if you're trying to do it in the end game, well, everyone on the map is probably going to be going for that last elevator, and it obviously makes it a lot riskier. So obviously stay around to the end if you want the more intense loot and some of the more chaotic moments, but if you get what you need, don't feel like you have to stay around. You can get out early. Now, in terms of some tips for what you should be bringing along on each raid, there are some things that are an absolute no-brainer. Now, the first thing is your augment. That is just going to allow you to bring more stuff with you, and they are very easy to come by. You also definitely want to be bringing a shield along with you. If you don't bring a shield, you are almost guaranteed to lose pretty much any gunfight you get into. So you always want to be bringing along a shield as well. Now, you can get away with bringing one weapon if you don't want to risk multiple, but honestly, I would always recommend to bring multiple weapons. If you get yourself into a pickle and, you know, you've wasted all the ammo and you need to reload, well, if you don't have a secondary weapon, you are most likely going to die. So try and always bring multiple weapons. Obviously, like I said, if you are really low on all of your gear, then that's fair enough, but I would highly recommend bringing multiple weapons and also ideally multiple ammo types. So don't bring 2 guns that both use light ammo, because you're going to use all the ammo from one and then you're going to actually run out of ammo on the second one as well. So set yourself up for success, bring along 2 weapons and try your best at least to bring different ammo types. Or if you're going to bring one ammo type, then bring a hell of a lot of it, because you most certainly will run out if you get into a long gunfight. Lastly, I'd then also recommend, in terms of your quick use items, to bring at least 1 type of bandages, 1 shield recharger, and then I often like to bring more health with me, so a different type of bandage, or there are different health items as well. And then often I'll bring some sort of grenade. I really like the smoke grenades. They allow you to make a quick escape, or if you want some actual explosives, then yeah, definitely bring some grenades along with you as well. I haven't seen that many enemies actually using grenades, and I feel like they're a little bit underrated personally, so I think it is definitely worth bringing along at least 1 type of grenade on your journey. Now, lastly, for just some quick gameplay tips, one of the most useful tips that I've noticed so far is that you can slide down most hills with ease. And so if you're up in a really high location and you kind of can't really figure out how to get down quickly, you don't have to go the long way. You can pretty much just slide down any cliff face. And so don't worry too much about like long drops. If you can pretty much just make sure you're making contact with the cliffside, you're not going to like tumble down and take a heap of damage. I've even done this on really low health. There was one raid that I was doing where I was literally on like 1 health and even still felt comfortable doing this. So be sure to make the most of that. Now, players probably won't know this early on as well. And so if you get into a gunfight and there is a nearby cliff face, you can make some pretty good escapes doing this, where enemies are going to kind of be thinking, where the hell did this dude just go? He's surrounded by cliffs. How could he have possibly gotten away? But little do they know, you can just pretty much slide down those cliffs with ease. Something else that is worth noting as well is to make the most of the ping wheel to communicate with enemies or potential friendlies. I think you press G on PC, and then if you're on a controller, it's up on the D-pad. This allows you to actually say stuff like, for example, don't shoot, or it can ask if you want to team up, and that will obviously make your character actually say those voice lines, at which point the enemies can understand that you're friendly and you don't want to get into a gunfight. You maybe want to take on some enemies as a team. So be sure to make the most of that. A lot of people will play passively, where they're not going to try and kill you. If you make friends with people, you can actually just finish these raids as a partner or even in groups. And so be sure to use the ping wheel if you're not too keen on actually getting on the mic and talking to people. You can still communicate pretty well in game. Last but definitely not least, one of the main tips that I have when it comes to extracting is that after the elevator arrives, whether you've called that in or whether someone else has called that in, unless you are absolutely in dire need of escaping immediately, I do think it is worth waiting 20 to 30 seconds to actually see if anyone else is nearby. If that elevator arrives and then you run in straight away, someone could be camping it and you can often find yourself dying right as you're about to extract. But if you are hidden somewhere in a bush or behind some cover and you just wait 20 to 30 seconds and keep your eyes on the elevator, often you'll find that you'll see another enemy actually making their run. People will pull the trigger early and just go, fuck it, I'm gonna run and try and extract. And two things will happen. Either A, you can just kill them and get some extra loot, or B, something that I've done is I've actually let enemies get in there, begin the extraction themselves, and then as the elevator doors are closing, you can just get in time, meaning you don't have to actually begin the extraction. It's already done for you, and from there you can choose to either kill the enemy, or if you're gonna play nicely, if you both just don't shoot each other, you can both extract. So give it 20 to 30 seconds before you get into the elevator, in my opinion. Like I said, sometimes you're going to need to just get in there immediately. That's fine. But sometimes a bit of patience can go a very long way in this game. So be sure to keep that in mind. But that is it for some very basic beginner tips when it comes to playing Arc Raiders, guys. Obviously, this is more geared towards those who maybe haven't played many extraction shooters. So it is very basic, but like I said, there will be some more advanced stuff on the way. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that stuff as well. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.